Hey 49ers fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into Chat Sports, and today, let's take a look at how the 49ers can trade back into the second round and then what wide receivers would be available. As we all know, San Francisco definitely needs to go ahead and get a wide receiver after losing Emmanuel Sanders. So let's go ahead and start with trading back from number 13 or trading back from number 31 as well. So as we know, 49ers have 0 day 2 picks. We talked about this a ton here on the 49ers report. In my opinion, they need to somehow get a second round draft pick, a third round draft pick, maybe even a fourth round draft pick. They have got to be picking on day 2. I love having 2 first round draft picks, but I think you can now mortgage one of those, or I guess leverage one of those, I should say, to be able to go ahead and have some later picks in the second and third round as well. So this is what it would kind of look like to go ahead and trade back. The question is, where do you go ahead and trade back from? Look at the draft order right now, 10 through 19. 49ers sit there at number 13. Bucks, Broncos, Falcons, Cowboys, Dolphins, Raiders are all possible trade back candidates. But let's go ahead and focus in on trading back with the Dolphins and the Raiders to go ahead and somehow create that second or third round draft pick. That way we can talk about the wide receivers we can go ahead and grab with those picks. So here's a mock trade that I came up with regarding the Oakland Raiders in terms of getting the Oakland Raiders to come up to number 13. That way they have number 12 and number 13, and San Francisco picks up and still has a first-round draft pick, and then some later third-round draft picks as well. So here, take a look at this one. So Oakland would go and get number 13 overall, and probably like a 5th round draft pick potentially, or just number 13 overall. And then San Francisco would receive number 19, number 80, and number 91, giving us some later round draft picks to go ahead and maybe, still get a later round wide receiver, which we'll talk about. Another one would be here with the Miami Dolphins. So the Dolphins would come all the way up from 26 to number 13, and San Francisco would get number 26, a second, number 56 overall, and a 4th. That to me is a little bit too far to move back into the first round, but even that late in the first round, the wide receivers we're about to talk about would make a lot of sense for San Francisco. Now this all depends on the idea that CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy are going to be gone by number 13, the 2 best wide receivers in this draft. To me, if neither of those guys are there, you're sitting at number 13, then I would definitely, exercise and take a look at trading back, because there are some really good wide receivers that you could go ahead and get before you actually, or get later on in these rounds without having to go ahead and spend an early round draft pick. Before we jump into those, quick ad break here on YouTube. I want you guys to answer this pinned comment in the comment section. Should the 49ers trade one of their first? And if you think they should, which one should it be? So type 13 down below to trade number 13 to get more draft picks. Type 31 down below to trade number 31 to get more draft picks. Or if you don't want to do it, type no trade. I want to hear those comments in the comment section. Okay, moving on. How about 3 wide receivers? The whole point of this video, 3 wide receivers we could get in the later rounds, whether that's later in the first round, early in the second round, maybe even in the third round, that a lot of you guys have heard about but don't know a ton about. I want to educate you guys on 3 of these wide receivers, starting with my personal later round favorite in terms of in the second and third round. How about Denzel Mims out of Baylor? He's been rocketing up draft boards after not only producing very well at Baylor in 2019, but then having one of the best combine performances overall we've seen in a very, very long time. Now, we've talked about this. We did it yesterday, or I think this past week on my live Q&A show here in the 49ers Report. He had basically the same exact combine numbers as Julio Jones, who we all know is probably the best wide receiver in the NFL right now. The big question for Mims is, can a Big 12 wide receiver produce at a high level in the NFL? Because not a lot of Big 12 guys have been coming into the National Football League and being very dominant. Here are those combine numbers that puts Mims in Julio Jones' I guess category. The 40 time, very, very similar. Jones is 4.34 versus Mims is 4.38. The vertical jump was exactly the same. The 3-cone shuttle was a 6.66, exactly the same as well. And the bench press, 16 reps versus 17 reps. Now, Denzel Mims is a little bit smaller in terms of weight. He's about 10 pounds lighter than Julio Jones. He's not, guaranteed to become Julio Jones just based off of these numbers, but I think what Denzel Mims did last year, what he did at the combine, is rocketing him from originally being a 4th or 3rd rounder to now being an early 2nd, maybe even a late 1st. So the trades we talked about, if you have the Dolphins number 26 overall pick, maybe, Ruggs is gone, and obviously CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy are gone, T. Higgins is gone, then you go ahead and grab a guy like Denzel Mims, and you could feel very, very good about it, just because, again, look how dominant he was this past season at Baylor with a decent quarterback in Charlie Brewer. Wasn't a great quarterback, but a decent quarterback. Still put up great numbers, double-digit touchdowns, over 1,000 yards receiving, and obviously the same combine numbers as Julio Jones. He could be a big-time steal in the draft. I would love him in the early second round if San Francisco can find a way to go ahead and get a second-round draft pick. Before we keep cruising, I know a lot of you guys are stuck at home. Why don't you go ahead and subscribe to the 49ers Report, because I know a lot of you guys are watching who are not subbed, and we're trying to get to 20,000 subs here on the 49ers channel. So if you like the videos, then go and give it a thumbs up, and then subscribe down below, the red subscribe button, and also the notification bell helps us out to continue, while we're stuck at home like you guys, to continue to produce great videos here on a daily basis, covering, of course, the San Francisco 49ers. Also, if you do sub, and I guess if you don't sub, because I'm going to tell you anyway, we got a great deal on some 49ers official jerseys right now. Links in the description. Chatsports.com/49jersey will get you guys some great deals on all authentic Nike 49er jerseys. You get Kittle, you get Bosa, you get Jimmy G, whatever you guys want. The link is in there in the description. Really great deals, all saved for you guys. Even if you aren't subscribed, I'll still go ahead and give you guys the link. Just scroll down and find that one. Another receiver who people hear the name, right? They recognize this name because it's been kind of toted around there as being a wide receiver you can take in the draft, but they don't know a lot about is Laviska Shenault out of Colorado. So here's the deal with Shenault. One, did not have a very good quarterback last year, so his numbers weren't that great, and he currently is dealing or is recovering from a core muscle injury sustained, surgery was had just last month. So it's about a 3 to 6 week process in terms of getting the core muscle injury ready to go, which puts him being able to play right around the NFL draft. Will that affect his draft stock? I don't think so, but still, something to keep an eye on, because Shenault was originally mocked to be a first-rounder and now kind of slipping out of the first round as other receivers are starting to go ahead and climb up draft boards. He might be the most explosive wide receiver in the NFL draft. He led the nation in 2018 with catches and yards per catch, and he's a guy that after catching the football, his run after catch ability is really bar none to anybody else. Don't be discouraged by the limited production last year. Again, can you name the quarterback who was the quarterback of Colorado, of the Buffs last year, throwing the football to Laviska Shenault? I could not before I went and did my studying for this, because he wasn't very good. The 49ers have good wide receivers right now, but they could use one more, and if you were to somehow, sneak Shenault into the starting lineup with Debo and Jalen and Kendrick Bourne, this becomes a very, very good wide receiver core, and Shenault is a guy who could just turn out to be a good second-string overall wide receiver, or who could absolutely explode and be a true number 1 and a steal. Whether San Francisco trades back with the Dolphins to 26, or they stay put at number 31, Shenault will most likely be there and could be a great option for our 49ers. You know what? Go ahead and pick one here in the comment section. Would you rather have Mims or Shenault? Type M down below for Mims, type S down below for Laviska Shenault. I'm curious where you guys are sitting in terms of, you like Shenault more, you like Denzel Mims more. I like Denzel Mims more. I'm a Baylor grad. I'm a little bit biased, but Shenault, I keep watching the film and doing my research on the guy. He is absolutely insane, but I still think he's going to fall a little bit maybe into that second-round range just because of the injury and because the stats were not that great, but Shenault would be a great overall late first, early second-round draft pick, as we're trying to go ahead and show you guys here on this video. The final guy I want to go ahead and talk about is someone who's probably going to be their late second round, early third round. So if you did that trade with the Raiders, you're picking up, a trade or a third-round draft pick in the 70s or the 80s in terms of overall number. Chase Claypool out of Notre Dame is probably going to be there. He's one of the biggest overall wide receivers in the NFL draft. He has great catch radius, great jump ball skills. He's like T. Higgins from Clemson, just not a first-rounder. He's going to be an absolute force across the middle and actually played a lot in the slot and just obliterated nickel and safety defenders in terms of them trying to cover the big frame here on Claypool. 66 catches last year, 13 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards, and when you actually look at a single game, it shows how explosive and great this guy can be. Against number 23 Navy, he had 7 catches last year for 117 yards and 4 touchdowns. This is a guy, again, late second round, early third round. A lot of people are not being very high on Chase Claypool because of how great the wide receiver draft class is this year. If Claypool was not in this draft class, if he was in last year's draft class, he'd probably be a first-round draft pick or at least an early second-round draft pick as well. The DraftNetwork.com, a very interesting quote on Chase Claypool in terms of how great he is. Listen to this, quote, "Will eat up off-man coverage and will be a mismatch from the slot. Makes good adjustments running routes against zone, showcasing good pace and timing. Experienced working on special teams coverage units as well," which is a way to get on the field early on if your team has a lot of depth at wide receiver, but the 49ers don't. So I'd expect Chase Claypool to go ahead and contribute right away. He, to me, if he falls to the third round, which is very, very likely, would be an absolute steal for San Francisco in the third round, and could be, if the 49ers want to go corner or safety, or they want to go O-line or D-line earlier on, a safe option to go ahead and fall back to that's still going to be able to contribute and is not a first-round draft pick for our 49ers. How about that? I was trying to give you guys some interesting options here in terms of, okay, if we traded back, how would we do it? Here's some trade back options. And then once we do trade back, if we do trade back, what wide receivers could we go ahead and get? Hopefully these three names are some guys you guys are interested in, and I want to hear from you guys in the comment section in terms of which 49er wide receiver, or which wide receiver, excuse me, should the 49ers go ahead and take. Is it one of these three? Is it somebody else? I'm going to peruse through the comments and see where the 49er fan base, I want to kind of gauge you guys in terms of who you guys are feeling you want the 49ers to go ahead and draft in the 2020 draft. The NFL has said, Roger Goodell, the draft's going to happen April 23rd, 24th, 25th, so we're a little less than a month away. Cannot wait to see what San Francisco does. We got plenty of great coverage here on the 49ers Report. All time to have for today. For the 49ers Report, I'm Thomas Mott, signing off. Enjoy the rest of your day.